Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
Well, here's the thing. I had really high hopes for today. Um, and to be fair, I did accomplish a lot of the hopes I had planned. But then about halfway through the day, I just lost all hopefulness and gave up. And that's why I'm in a blanket wrapped up if you're on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I was like, I've been studying for the bar, super hardcore. I found my old Loyola long sleeve shirt. It's been cold out and it's Mardi Gras. It's from our Mardi Gras ball, our barrister's ball, or whatever they called it. And I was like, I'm going to be celebrating Mardi Gras. I mean, this is for like the 27th, but close enough. I'm going to celebrate Mardi Gras and my bar prep with my shirt, and it's going to look cute and fun. And then I had a little bit of an anxiety attack and did take it off and put on a very light, comfortable t-shirt and wrapped myself in a blanket. But I'm fine. I'm just a little stressed because the bar is hard and it makes me tired and I don't want to do it. I was just telling MK, what did I just tell you? How many hours did I just say of lectures I've watched?
86 or something like that?
Yeah. And like most of that was in the last 3 weeks. So I've only got 6.5 left. And my course may close tonight or tomorrow and won't open again till end of March. So it's fine. It is what it is. But I have the majority of the material I need so that once it does close, I can spend that time making note cards and doing practice essays. And every time that comes up into my little brain, I get a little bit closer to an anxiety attack than I was 10 seconds prior.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, I've been really hardcore watching TV. And in between lectures, I let myself watch an episode. And Rachel got me back into her Netflix. So I've been watching the second season of The Night Agent, and I just love that show. I don't know if you've watched it,
I
but
have not.
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Really obsessed with Paradise. It's week to week, so like to wait till Tuesday. High Potential is now on hiatus. We have ended the first season. But School Spirits is back and in high gear. Also have to wait. I mean, I just watched the newest episode of it a minute ago while I was grading. My last theme is prep. I finished grading for bar prep 20 minutes ago. So that's one thing off my plate now. Yeah. Not that it was on my plate a lot, but it was a little bit on my plate. But yeah, that's me. That's how I am. How are you?
Well, in terms of TV, just my update. Dan and I caught up with The Rookie to what is live, so we're now also waiting week to week. No, but not because it's waiting week to week. We only have 2 episodes of West Wing left.
Oh, and then you can start your podcast.
Yeah, he's been very into trying to plan things out for the podcast because, I have so much time right now.
Right. I'm so excited though.
Then, but The Bachelor is back and Masked Singer is back, but that also means I now have multiple things that are week to week. So I'm stressed. But I have like, an essay, a reflection question thing for my mentorship program that's due on Wednesday. And then on Mardi Gras, like in 2 weeks, I have an entire professional development course that all the coursework is due for. But don't worry, Tech Week for the musical, the 2 weeks of Tech Week for the musical starts on Monday. And I am like suddenly feeling like I'm back in grad school with all of the things that I have to do that I haven't had time to do. And I'm having also panic attacks. So instead of being productive today, I spent 6 hours getting my hair done.
To be fair, 1, your hair looks amazing. 2, you did have it on your schedule to get your hair done. You just didn't realize the length of time it was.
Correct. No, I knew I was going to get my hair done today. I planned, even from before my wedding, I said during February break, I'm chopping all of my hair off. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I quite literally chopped all of my hair off.
And also, you're only like 2 hours off because you did do one of your meetings while you were getting your hair done. So like you're really only 2 hours behind.
Yeah, my hair I thought was going to be 3 hours, maybe 3.5. It was 6 hours long. I had to do a Zoom meeting while in the hair, like in the chair getting my hair done. At one point, I had to tell Monica to turn off the blow dryer so I could ask a question. like, like, and so now I'm here. But that also means that I spent 6 hours at the hair salon today, so I didn't eat anything. So I'm now eating while recording, even though it's an episode that I'm leading, so it's going to go really, really well.
Yay.
Um, and I'm drinking oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc, mostly because it was already open and I wanted to finish it before I opened a new bottle.
Hey, that's responsible.
Yeah. Um, and I'm eating a chicken pot pie, chicken and white wine. It goes better than red wine. I think that's what
I
they
did
told
think about I'm theoretically I'm making chicken for dinner. Or I'm not eating. We'll see which one wins. But theoretically, I'm making chicken for dinner and
Yeah.
I might have a glass of white wine with it.
Yeah. Um, Also, an update to my chicken pot pie. That is only an update for Courtney and no one else because y'all were not here prior. There's also celery in the pot pie.
That's what I
That's what
saw.
you saw.
I was like, what are you eating that's green?
and I was like, there's peas in here. And she was like, that was too big to be a pea. But then I cut another piece open and saw the celery. And I was like, oh, right. No, there's celery in my pot pie also.
Yeah, see, I don't like celery. I do understand it normally goes in a pot pie, but I don't like it.
To be fair, it's a Marie Callender's chicken pot pie, which I've had about 175 of them in my lifetime. And today is the first day I realized there was celery in it. So the flavor of the
Oh, no,
celery.
it's always been there.
No, I know, but I'm saying the celery doesn't affect the flavor of it because for the last 10 years I did not know there was celery in it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, other than like also being on the verge of an existential crisis, I'm doing great. It's my week off from school. Like I'm not at work this week, so it should be like super relaxing, but I have read 3 chapters of my book. That's it. And done
Which book? Both like one of each or
yeah, I think I've read in total 4 chapters, like two of in each book. But so I've read like 4 chapters for the entire week and done none of the paperwork I needed to do. So like I don't know what's happening, but it's probably not a good thing.
Well, to add, did I finish Butcher and Blackbird last time we spoke?
You were just about to finish it.
Oh my God. It's I miss
I did
it. Like I feel like I'm
did.
in Go ahead.
I told Monica she had to read it today because
I feel like I'm in mourning.
Monica was talking to me about she read Phantasma and something.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but people are reading that right now.
Yeah,
too.
well, it's very Monica.
So
she was like,
Butcher and Blackbird.
yeah, well, that's what I told her. I was like, you have to read Butcher and Blackbird next because it's very up your alley. But she was like talking to me about it, and it's like romantasy only without like fairies and like mythical creatures. It's like ghosts and vampires and shit. And I was like, okay, yeah. She was like, you would love it. And I go, would I?
It's probably a dark romance, though.
It is. It's a dark romance, but like the male main character is literally a specter. Like he's not even, he's a ghost. And I'm like,
I will probably read it one day.
Eventually. I will probably get there eventually, but I'm like, I think I'm happier with fairies than ghosts.
See, I do like a ghost romance. I like a paranormal romance. I like a dark romance. Some of them are a little dark, but like I tend to like them. But I am a little bit I did download the second one of because it's a trilogy, Butcher Blackbird.
Which apparently there's an order to tandem read all 3 of them. I found that on TikTok today.
Well, too late.
Right.
You people are too late. Also I don't really know how because of the way this one ended. It feels very like next chapter. Like
interesting.
So that's strange. Unless they have different characters. I don't think they do.
I have no idea. I just know that I found a video about tandem reading those books today, and I was like, oh.
I think people are just getting insane, and that's on them. But I am a little bummed because I downloaded the second one, but I have Briar Club and Bright Young Women to read before I go back to read it because those are both my book club. And I think we're doing book club next week with one of them, and it's not the one I started the book for yet. So we'll see.
It's okay.
We'll see how that goes.
Megan was reading a book yesterday. She showed it to me and was like, "You should really read this book and everything." But it is very much realistic, like realistic fiction set in current
Mhm.
times about like modern political issues. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah.
I'd rather read books about fairies having sex.
Fahrenheit 451, that book. It's, feels how it should go.
Mhm. Yeah. And I was
Yeah,
like,
no, that's not a thing I'm
it
interested
was,
in
yeah,
today.
and especially because the main character was a Palestinian woman, and it was like
Mm.
her journey and everything. And I was like, I understand why you would think that this would be something I'd be interested in. And it's not that I'm
And maybe 10 years ago it would have been, and maybe in 10 years it will be.
right. And I'm like, and it's not that it's not something I would like to read, but the current mental state I'm in right now, if there is not a supernatural creature with his dick out, I can't read it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no one's supernatural in a Butcher and Blackbird, I hate to tell you.
Yeah, but I feel like serial killer is closer than real life
That
Palestinian
is
refugees.
very true. Very true. Much better pick right now. I thought Briar Club, I completely misunderstood what this book was about when I voted on it. Because I half read everything I do these days.
Mhm.
But I do think I'm gonna like it. It's a 15-hour audiobook. It's so long.
That was long.
And so it's
As
just taking
I
so
read books that are definitely like 3 days on.
yeah, but like those don't take as long. Like even if they're long books, they don't take as long. And like
Yeah.
this one, I didn't even know it changes character POV
Oh.
because I am listening to this story about someone that I don't remember their name because now it's been 5 hours.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden they're like, and Nora did this, and I'm like, who the hell is Nora? When did we start following someone named Nora? I was so confused. I need to text
Yeah.
Nora and ask her if she read Butcher and Blackbird. I bet she did.
I bet she did too.
Mhm.
Well, since the only thing keeping us functioning is inappropriate fiction, can you give me something
Well, yeah. Let
appropriate?
me let me unbury my hands and do that for you. Oh, my phone is on 8%. Let me also plug it up. What a day. Hmm. Okay. Don't be perfect. Be you. Don't be what you think they want you to be. Be what you know you are. Don't look outside yourself for anything. It's all within. Jackson Kiddard.
Like that.
Full disclosure, I do not know who that is, and I did mean to look it up and sure did.
Okay.
So here we
You
are.
know, hopefully he's not a terrible person.
We're gonna
Although
pretend like he's not for now. And please don't tell us this week if he is. We'll try in like a
yeah,
couple weeks, then you can
we
tell
can't
us.
handle it. We cannot
Yeah.
handle. I also kind of am at the point where I go under the assumption that everyone's a terrible person.
That is the safer bet, usually.
But
But I
like,
haven't heard of his name at all,
which means
which
maybe
means
he's
like,
probably not terrible.
yeah,
And to be
yeah.
fair, sometimes people are terrible people and I just pretend they're not anyway. Or other people call them terrible people and I go, for why? Because
Or
that was a
sometimes people are terrible people and we just don't know it and we think they're not
no.
until 10 years later. He did.
Mhm.
I mean, we should
Okay.
have known.
We should have
But
known. Neil Gaiman, though, that one was rough.
oh yeah, I was like, when did that happen? And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a rough day.
See, I didn't make it my all the way into his fandom before I found out. So I was like,
Mm.
okay, I'll just redistance myself.
No, but apparently Sarah J. Maas, who obviously I'm currently obsessed with, there are some people on Book Talk who are like, she's a terrible person. But it's one of those things where like their reasons for saying she's a terrible person is because they don't agree with her politics, which
Mm,
in my life is not reason enough to hate someone
no.
because
Well, they
I'm
also, I mean, everyone who's gotten popular, someone hates.
yes.
Like
Yeah,
it had
for
the same
sure.
thing happened with Charlene Harris. People came after her, and I adore her. Everyone
Yeah.
can screw off. And then because she came out and made a huge statement about like Roe v. Wade, and it really turned some people off. And then well, House of Night,
I don't remember.
Kristen, I can't remember her and her sister's name. But they like people came out and tried to say that they like ripped a lot of stories off, and it was like everyone's always going to come out. Like if you have haters, you're doing
Here's the
something
thing,
right.
right? But also, like everyone who's ever written anything ripped someone off without knowing it.
Well, yeah,
No,
but also like,
no idea in the world is original.
but also like maybe they knew, maybe they ripped off Chaucer or Shakespeare. Like it just is what it is, bro.
Because
Like,
Shakespeare definitely never ripped anybody off with his
right,
work. His
right,
the point of Shakespeare isn't the stories, it's the language. Like you can
yeah.
do something, you can take someone else's idea and do something better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of did you break intellectual property laws to do it?
Right. Like, did you copy and paste, or did you like
Right.
make it your own?
Right.
So
So there's that. But also like, okay, everybody hates everybody for their politics. I tend to hate no one for their politics because I disagree with and agree with everyone. Like I'm like
I tend to just hate everyone
well, there's that.
for all of the reasons and none of the reasons.
Right. It's easier to just assume everyone sucks and that I will just be disappointed by everyone.
Yeah. And then it's a nice surprise when you're not.
Unfortunately, we were not we were disappointed by this episode. Although, to be fair, did warn you.
You did. I know the whole time I was watching it. I will say the whole time I was watching it because I'd lowered my expectations so much. I was like, okay, this wasn't as terrible as I anticipated.
That's the thing. It's not that bad. It's not a good episode, but it's not that bad for the fact that everyone hates it. I'm just like like I said, go into everything with the expectation that you're going to hate it, and then it's tolerable.
Yeah.
So we're today talking about Stargate SG-1, Season 7, Episode 9, Avenger 2.0. It was rated 7.1 stars, which, to be fair, is the same as last week.
Which is wild.
Although, neither episode was good.
Yeah, but like, I feel like we've had other episodes that were like high sixes or low sevens that were like,
not these.
A little better. So they shouldn't be ranked on par with some of those.
Yeah. It premiered on Friday, August 8th, 2003. Same #1 song. #1 book is back to Da Vinci Code. It took a break for a week and now it's back. And the top movie is a movie that I only vaguely remember existed. SWAT, which stars Colin Farrell and Samuel L. Jackson and LL Cool J. And
I was gonna ask if that was the Mark Wahlberg one, but I can't. That's not the one.
No, I think Mark Wahlberg might be in it too. No, he's not. I only wrote Colin Farrell and Samuel L. Jackson, but I remembered LL Cool J being on the poster.
How do you forget?
SWAT, not the TV show, the movie. The TV show is inspired by the movie, I think.
I didn't even know there was a TV show.
Yes, the TV show.
It's got Shamar Moore in it.
Yeah, exactly. It was the TV show has Shamar Moore in it. So, no, Jeremy Renner.
Oh, love Jeremy Renner. Renner. Baby Jeremy Renner.
Baby Jeremy Renner. This is 2003. So, Colin Farrell, Jeremy Renner, Samuel L. Jackson, and LL Cool J, and Michelle Rodriguez. So, like, is it probably a good action movie? Sure. I mean, it's also.
Did you see the rating?
Oh, I did. It's rated 6.1. And it's got 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. But then again,
maybe not.
I dislike all action movies. So I'm not
I like an action movie.
I'm not the good judge of that.
I'll watch it.
Okay, go for it.
Like in 5 years. Like check back in 5 years.
Oh, it's based on the 1975 TV series of the same name. And the TV show in 2017 is based on it as well. I think it's probably something that works better in a TV format.
Interesting.
But that's
well, fun fact, he was actually considered for a role in the movie of SWAT, but he was doing the Italian job at the same time. So that does not help because I did not know that before this moment.
No, but also good for him because the Italian job, much better ratings.
That's what I hear. Yeah, much better. Is it too dark? Should I have turned on the light?
No, you're fine. I can see you. Okay. I had to put the sconce on behind me again because one of the light bulbs in the overhead light went out and it was like awkwardly too dark. I was like, okay, well, we're gonna have weird light again.
My bathroom's like a horror scene every day. Only one of the light bulbs works and has since I moved in. But sometimes it flickers. And it only wants to do it at night. So it's really funny.
Well, I mean, you know the sound that the light bulbs in my bathroom make.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
They're pretty
basically
intense.
it's
They're pretty
basically a horror movie in there too.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
on this day, everything in the entire news that I could find was either somehow connected to the war on terror or somehow a different news story, like 3 or 4 different news stories about the EU making a law and then a different country not following it and then them getting mad about it. And so,
So again, same.
exactly. I'm like, oh, so like literally nothing has changed in 20 years. So
Like we're
glad.
still doing the same thing. Yeah.
Like
Cool.
the EU made a law about something about like recycled materials, and the US and Canada didn't want to keep the law for them, and then the EU like threw a fit. And I was like, first of all, America and Canada aren't even in the EU. We don't have any.
Also, we've been fighting with them since the before America existed. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna keep going. Give it a rest.
So I was like, wow, I'm gonna write none of these stories because they're all stupid. Not that stories about the war on terror are stupid. It's been 25 years. I can't talk about it anymore.
And it's still happening. Like,
Right.
just yeah.
Although, quick shout out to the war on terror. I had to explain.
No.
I had to explain to Dan's siblings yesterday how 9/11 caused twilight. So- and then David explained to me how Kermit caused 9/11.
Wait, when did 50 Shades of Grey come out?
50 Shades of Grey is a Twilight
It's
fanfic.
backwards. It's backwards.
Yes.
It's backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. It didn't come out that fast. I was like, wait a minute. Twilight came out before it had a whole
Yes,
break.
50 Shades of Grey
Everything's fine.
started as a Twilight fanfic.
Right.
But apparently, in the 2002 film A Very Muppet Christmas, Kermit finds out about a universe like It's a Wonderful Life, where Kermit has a moment of what would the world be like if he had never been born. However, the footage that they used for this, because of how long it took to film it, in the scenes where Kermit is experiencing life without Kermit, the Twin Towers are still there. But in all the scenes that they filmed where Kermit was alive, they weren't. So, unintentionally canon, if Kermit had never been born, the Twin Towers would have never fallen.
The Muppets, man, they ruin everything.
So, in case your life couldn't be weirder, these are the things that me and my brother-in-law talk about on a Wednesday night.
I love it.
This episode was directed by Martin Wood, written by Joseph Malozzi and Paul Mully, and edited by Brad Rines. The guest is Jocelyn Lowen, who played the little annoying secretary lady.
She made me think so much of Bernadette.
Yes, I did actually have to look up because she did seem so much like Bernadette. But she is known for The Littlest Pet Shop, Chaos Theory, and The Vision of Escaflowne. If none of those sound familiar, it's because 90% of her work is as the voice actor for English dubs of anime. Which
I was going to say, I've heard of Littlest Pet Shop, but it just feels out of character for the other things.
But then I knew that going into the episode, and I listened to her voice, and I go, oh yeah, no, she's for sure an anime dub artist. Like that's what that voice is for. Yeah, so that made perfect sense to me. We start this episode with a flash. All of our previously ons are flashbacks to the season 6 episode, The Other Guys. Which means that we're focusing on Dr. Felder and Dr. Lee. Only not really Dr. Lee. He wasn't in this episode at all.
He was not. I was like, he wasn't even there.
No. And after to the previous layout. We go to Felger, who is freaking out in his lab because Sam is on her way down to look at a weapon he's been working on. And he's going on and on about the mission he was on and him, the bond that he now has with Sam and Jack and blah, blah, blah. Which the only important part about this scene, in my opinion, was that it does confirm that the other guy's not a dream sequence. Because remember, we ended that episode unsure how much of the episode was a dream sequence. So this basically confirms, yeah, that weird heroic thing that he thought about at the last minute was not real, but the mission actually happened, which then they pair it in this episode by having one scene at the end that is clearly not real compared to the rest of the episode. So I was like, so that's good because it does answer the question, did Felger actually save them in this weird, on this planet? Yes, he did.
Which is what I thought, right? Wasn't that what I thought?
You thought that it must have somehow happened, but his like thoughts on it and like his dreaming.
Right.
It was just one of those things where it was not clear the way they did it.
Like it was obvious the last scene, but the rest of it was like, maybe.
Right. After the last scene, you're like, okay, so wait, how much of that is a dream? Because that was definitely a dream.
Right.
But Jack interrupts him in the middle of him talking about Jack and is like, yeah, Sam made me come down here to see what this weapon is. The weapon is basically a photon torpedo, like a laser gun. And when he goes to demonstrate it, he blows a fuse and blacks out the entire base. And then we get the credits.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the number of times I heard about the blackout at the Superdome, which is what this made me think of. It's like, what if someone just had like a photon gun at the Superdome? And that's why we had the blackout this year, because obviously the Super Bowl was here. That's what it felt like. It felt like a behind the scenes of when the Superdome went black.
I am gonna go ahead and say no one brought a photon gun to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you never know. It's New Orleans.
I watched someone get kicked out of the Bills stadium because the box of cookies they wanted to bring in was too big compared to the NFL regulated size of containers. I don't think anyone brought a photon gun to the Super Bowl.
I don't know. This was a few years ago. Times have changed.
That's fair. That's fair.
Although I think this was during like clear bag policy times, so
right.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Literally the guy in front of me in line to get to the game, the last game I went to, he was getting told he could not bring his cookies in. I
don't think we can bring any food into the Superdome.
You can?
I don't think we can.
But I definitely saw other people with food. I think his cookie box was just too big.
Right. Yeah. But I'm saying I don't think we can though. Like I don't think we can bring anything in that's edible.
That is a good question. I don't know.
Because they check everything. I mean, obviously, like weapons or whatever.
Oh, yeah. But
they sell, I mean, they also sell a ton of food.
So right. Can you bring the food?
I gotta turn on the light. I'm like fading away like a phantom in the night.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I discovered you can bring food if it is an unopened single serve food bags. Like I could bring food for a baby in with me if I had a kid with me, or like granola bars or something for like a diabetic. Like you can bring unopened single serve pieces as long as they're small enough to then fit into your plastic bag. His was a whole plastic thing, store-bought thing of cookies, but it was already open. And I also think it was probably drugs. I think it was weed. But that's
Heathens.
Which weed is legal in New York. Just do it before you get there.
Man, I should have left the light off. I look super red now.
You look great. I also look really red, but it's because I actually put concealer on under my eyes, so now my cheeks look even redder than they did before I fixed my under eyes. It's fine. So Felger is apologizing to Hammond, and Hammond calls off the entire project. And not only is he ending the project, he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to fire you also because nothing like, you have done has worked. He was like, I looked in your file and you have spent so much money and so much time on projects that you have then not finished.
To be a complete failure.
Yeah. So
Like, could you imagine? That's my fear every day at my job. Any of my jobs I've ever had. I'm like, I'm gonna walk up and then be like, you've never done anything right and you're fired.
Um, I was trying to explain to somebody my imposter syndrome the other day and just like how they're like, you're such a good teacher. I go, every day I question it. I'm like, do I even know what I'm doing? Has anyone learned anything? I couldn't tell you. And they're like, no, they have. You're fine. And I'm like, okay, I don't believe you.
No.
And then I watched an interview with Alona Meyer where she was like, why would I have imposter syndrome? I did the work. And I'm like, girl, what a way to say my mental health is better than yours.
So true.
I'm like,
So
I'm
true.
so happy for you that in the position you are in life and what you have achieved, you don't feel like you don't deserve it because you do.
Right.
However, to wake up every day that confident that you deserve what you've achieved could not be me.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Um,
Absolutely not.
however, Dr. Felcher does not have imposter syndrome. He just is an imposter.
You
Um,
sus.
he's
That's
he's
what kids say.
yeah, he's well, at least it was like 3 years ago. I don't know if they still say it. Gen Z slang
It's from
moves too
that
fast
game,
for me.
right?
Yes, the imposter and Among Us. I showed my kids a video that Dee had made for his YouTube channel, like an educational video, and it referenced Among Us, and the kids go, "What was this video made in 2020?" I go, "Yeah, actually, it was made in 2020."
No,
But then
I can't
again,
talk to kids.
right. But then again, you think about the fact they're 12, which means that in 2020 they were 7. So, like, no, they're not going to talk
Yeah.
the same way. They're going to think,
I'm going to a 9-year-old's birthday on Saturday, and I'm terrified. I was like, what is she like? And she was, it's Haley's kid.
"Ugh,
I was like, what is she even like? I was like, I just know she likes brunch. Like, I don't know how to give her brunch as a gift. And she was like, she likes makeup and like face
not
masks and
at
stuff.
9?
This girl bougie.
No. That's honestly, every day I am more and more afraid of how my kids are going to behave.
I know. She's a good kid though, but she is bougie.
I'm like my friend Amanda, I don't know if you met Mandy at the wedding. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think
I
I
mean,
met anyone at the actual
no,
wedding. I met everyone
no.
before the wedding.
Right. No, but she was hanging out with Gabby for a lot of it, her because she didn't know anybody else.
Mm.
She was also wearing a red dress. Anyway, um, Mandy's daughter is, I think, like 3 or 4,
Mm.
and she gets mad if Mandy gets Starbucks and doesn't give her any. And I'm like, I would fight a child.
Yeah,
Kate's 2-year-old the other day was playing with makeup, and Kate tried to take it back, and she goes, "No, mommy, go wash the dishes."
grounded
And I was
for
like,
6 weeks.
I was like, could not be me. I'm terrified that I'm going to be the meanest parent in the world
Mm-mm.
because they're going to talk back to me and I'll be like, you thought. Fuck
Yeah,
around and
no.
find out, bud.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No.
but Falger's like, well, I do actually have something that I'm working on that like I swear I will be ready to present to you by next week. And Hammond goes, tomorrow.
Which is like, look, you've had 11 years. May as well do it by
Right.
tomorrow.
Um, so he says he I suddenly wrote his name as Jay. Half the time I wrote Felger and half the time I wrote Jay. His first name is Jay. I do know that. I don't know why I wrote that. He says he's going to work on a project called Avenger, and his assistant Chloe says that it's a horrible idea because the project is nowhere near ready. So what does he do? Present it anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
The program is a computer virus that will scramble the coordinates on a gate, making it useless. It basically like tricks them into like misreading the calculations on it,
Right.
which they did a really good job of explaining it in the episode, and I did a really shitty job of taking the notes to explain it, and I don't know how to explain it. I My problem with episodes like this is that I don't understand technology.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, so who
Because
knows?
also they explain it in a way that like, if you get like trapped in the Stargate, you die or whatever. But like this didn't make it sound like that. It was just like a diversion of the coordinates, so it just didn't work.
Yeah, it basically like made it so that like you dial a phone number, but it's not an active phone number. Like it
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
confuses your cell phone service, basically. Like it's not gonna
right.
kill anybody, it's just gonna like basically make the
Inactivate,
in like yeah, make the
deactivate.
deactivate
That's the word.
it. Words are hard. Sam says that it's actually a very interesting idea and that she'll read through his work and take it to Hammond if there's actually enough in there that she thinks it'll be functional. Because conceptually, she's like, whether you have the science or not, conceptually, that's a really fascinating idea, just turning the gates off from the inside out. However, do you have enough science for this to even be a feasible? Because, like, I think, speaking of ideas that I want to create, that I have the great idea but no science. I want to make a version of all movies on all streaming services where when you go in to pick the language, you can pick like the not the subtitles, but the dubbed language. Like you can watch this movie in English, or you can watch it in Spanish, or you can watch it with your mom sitting next to you. And all that does is basically blank out words for like those parents who are like, oh my God, they swore. Mostly
Mhm.
for Dan's mom. She's the one who wants. She was like, I just don't want to hear those words when I'm watching movies. And I'm like, how difficult would it actually be for someone who works at the streaming service to watch the movie, time when the swear words are, and then create an audio overlay that is just the beeps in the right spot?
I mean, that's what they do for like cable TV.
Right. And that's what they do when they make movies in English or in like different language dubs. They just record a sound overlay track on it. And this would be a little different because you'd be splicing two soundtracks because you wouldn't be changing the language. It would literally just be
Mhm.
like another lay on top of it. But how difficult would that actually be?
But like I've
Sci-
heard them do that. They do that on like I think it's like FXL. There's like one of the channels that they
right.
always like
So
replace words with
why
other
doesn't
words.
every streaming service have someone who works for them who creates that overlay track?
Because they don't care. I mean, I think it's a grand idea. I care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to make it sound like I don't care. I care.
No, I
They
understand.
don't care about
Right.
morals.
I know. But so that's and then I was like, conceptually, great idea. Do I actually have the skills to do it? Only on the most rudimentary level. Like I
Yep.
can make an audio track and put it on top of something else. that's
Yeah.
that's where that skill ends. Um, so um Sam does decide that there is enough in there that it's worth exploring, and she foregoes a mission to stay and study this project. Sam and Teal'c both have hope because of the what it could provide for the gates. Jack and Hammond are less convinced. Um, oh, and this is where we also do get confirmation that Felger's dreams were not dreams because this is when Jack confirms that Felger saved his life. So even in the
Mhm.
earlier scene, it's still just Felger talking and he could still just be making stories up, but Jack does confirm that unfortunately, like, this did happen.
Mhm.
Um, then we go to Felger's apartment where he is making a diorama of the gate and the SG teams going in and out of the gate in his boxers when Sam shows up.
This is like the biggest nerd. Like, I get that I'm a nerd. I totally get it. But like, I'm not making dioramas of my workplace. Like, could you imagine?
Or
How
like,
insane would that be?
how insane is it to have that much hero worship for someone you know in real life?
Right.
Like
Because like
this,
even when I worked in music, like it would make a cute diorama if I made a one of my workplace and my work vibes. And there are some people that like are worth idolized that I didn't work like that didn't work in the office that I worked with. But like
no, I mean like, and you know,
I would
I
never.
tell you guys all the time the people that I meet at Shays. Like I'm very lucky with some of the people that
Hmm.
I've met, and some of them do in fact happen to be pretty high up on my list of role models and icons.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I made a diorama of the set when Steve Martin and Martin Short were on my stage in my underwear, and then one of them showed up?
But also like I mean, you're a little bit more creative than me, but like us making this version of that would be like cutout paper people that you like put in a shoebox. Like,
The couch would be a Lego. Like
yeah.
with
We
like
should have
the wrong color. The wrong color. Because it's the
we
only one
should
I
do
could find.
Stargate dioramas for our series finale or something.
Okay, sure.
Make it like a real future project, like not tomorrow, but like add it to the list.
Yeah, our never-ending list.
Mhm.
She tells him that he has another chance to work on the project, but she has to work on it with him,
Which is fair.
which
It's
is
like great idea.
fair.
You
I think it's
cannot
a
do this by
great
yourself.
idea. He, on the other hand, is not
Psyched.
okay. Is
But he's
he?
psyched that he gets to be with her the whole time. I mean, he's nervous,
Yeah.
but he is psyched that he gets to be around her.
Yeah, it's so sad the way he acts. But so they go back. First of all, he is having an absolute panic attack trying to get ready um to this, and he's like freaking out to Chloe about getting ready to work with Sam, who is obviously in love with him. Why? I could not tell you, but she
I could
is.
not tell you, but like, man, you've got it too good. Just go on with this genius scientist that does like you.
Right.
And maybe before she changes her mind and figures out that you're a moron. I don't know. Love is blind.
Yeah. It did very much feel like Taylor Swift, You Belong With Me, though. Like,
It did. But also, like, because she reminded me so much of Bernadette, I just kept thinking about all of the times Bernadette was so jealous of like Howard on Big Bang. Have you watched Big Bang Theory? Like, are you
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Okay. But like, that's what I would think of as all of her like incessant rages that she went into, and she would get jealous of him.
Right, when she first met Penny and like could not handle Penny
Hmm.
hanging out with the boys and everything, and it was like, girl,
Uh-huh.
Penny
Uh-huh.
does not want Howard.
Mm-mm.
In
Yeah.
fact, no one on planet Earth before you has ever wanted Howard.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so Sam and Felger are working on the project. We have like a montage of scenes of them working on it with Felger mostly hiding his awkwardness.
Eh,
Mostly.
okay.
I thought he did a pretty good job.
He could have done worse.
He sure could have. He obviously could have done better, but he
Right.
definitely could have done worse. Um, they get a simulation working on the computer, and so they decide that they are ready to test it out on a gate because unfortunately there is no other like real world model of them just putting it through a gate. Um, so they choose one that is on one of Baal's mining planets because there aren't any humans there. It's not a safe place to go. So if it doesn't work, it won't affect any of them. And they have a Toker operative on the planet who will let them know what happens with the gate.
So here's my complaint. Yes, all of those things make sense. However, there are probably similar planets that are not owned or run by Baal. Why would you want to try this in one of like the biggest
Well,
Gaul
here's the thing.
territory?
Um, they can't do it on a planet where they have any friendly life in case it goes badly. And
Sure.
they can't do it on a planet where they have no life because they won't have any feedback. And if the gate doesn't work, then they can't go there. So they have to do it on an enemy occupied planet. Because otherwise, because if it does work and no one can get there, then great. And if it doesn't work, then no harm, no foul, basically.
Right.
Obviously, we see how that doesn't work, but that's beside the point.
Right.
But so, like, the reason could they have picked a smaller target? Maybe. But I guess that also depends where do they have Toker operatives? Because if they don't have someone to relay the information back,
That's true.
so
Maybe
was
that's
it?
your next mission is you find a planet that you could try it on that's smaller. You send someone there.
But then if
Give it
they're
a try.
stuck, but then if they're stuck forever, and it
Then you
doesn't.
bring a rocket to them. You figure out the coordinates and you fly out
Yeah, because
in a ship and go get them.
we've had such a good track record with our spaceships.
The Toker have though. The Toker could go get them.
But then they'd have to come out of hiding, and everyone that's
Or
not.
Thor. Beam him up, Scotty.
I'm pretty sure Thor's still deeply engulfed in Asgard or in battles versus replicators.
Yeah, but he'd take a break. Maybe.
Are there workarounds? Yes. Is the solution the worst one? No.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Jay's panicking in the lab because they still have not heard back from the Toker operative, so they have no idea if this worked. When Sam gets called to the control room, so Felger obviously goes there because he needs to be with Sam at all times.
Yeah.
And he thinks it might be the Tok'ra giving them a message, which he'd like to be there for. But it turns out it's Jack and Teal, and they have tried to contact or come home, and they cannot establish an outgoing wormhole at all, which may or may not be related to Avenger.
It for sure is. Like, what did they think it was? It for sure is. When they said that and they were like, I don't know, it could be, I don't know. I was like, girl,
Well,
there is no other
obviously, for
option.
dramatic purposes, there's no other option.
Yeah.
But to be fair, what they created should not have spread the way it did.
Right. Right.
So
But obviously.
their first thought is the initial scientific gut reaction of that could not have happened. However, coincidences also can't happen.
Mhm.
Like those aren't
Yeah.
real. So Sam is trying to determine if they could be related when there's an unscheduled off-world activation. And it is the Tok'ra reporting that several gates in the system have gone completely offline. So now it's more than one planet. So probably related. And they don't have word from the operative on P3S117, but they send Sam all the data that they do have.
Say something to me.
What?
Okay. My headset's gonna die soon, but I think it'll probably make it through this episode. Just
Oh,
talked at me and then I didn't hear what you said.
oh, so they were saying that they don't have word from P3S117, but they send Sam everything that they have. Sam goes through it and immediately tells Hammond he needs to recall as many teams as possible because they have less than 2 hours before all of the gates are infected. Basically, the virus triggered an OS update. Is as mainstream language as I can put it. It triggered an
But
OS.
that is like that's the description.
Yeah, like they talked about what it was and all the sciencey part of it, but basically they put something in and it was a virus and it triggered an OS update, and then unfortunately the virus got written into the OS, and then every single gate now had the same OS. It's like when Windows 11 is gonna take over all of our computers.
I mean, my Mac is trying to get me to update to Sequoia, and I think it's finally put on the. Oh, nope, I can still click it. Eventually, when I stop not doing the update, eventually it just stays on the screen. And it's like, you can't turn this off until you update.
I just re-put Windows 11 on my computer because I was having issues with my keyboard driver again, and I was like, well, unfortunately, it's never going to work if I continue to use bad software. However, Windows 11 is terrible, and more people than not keep reverting back to Windows 10, and I don't. It's
That sucks.
yeah.
That sucks a lot.
They bring everyone that they can back, but Felger is now having a panic attack because there are 15 teams that they did not get that are still stranded off-world. The entire gate network is now down. And fun fact, one of the teams that they weren't able to get is Daniel's team that he's working with right now that are currently in the middle of a flood.
You know, Murphy's Law.
Yeah. Jack and Teal'c are being fired on, and the SGC is the only gate that can dial out since they don't have a DHD. So the virus did not infect them because they don't have the same hardware to get the software update. But they can't send backup because they have no idea if they'll ever be able to get the backup out. They basically work out that in order to fix the gates, they have to create an antivirus that will work its way through the system the same way the original virus worked through the system and like redo this automatic software update.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, based on the random chip principle, which is something that they said that I copied, but I don't know what they're talking about. Basically, the idea of finding out the numerical code based on giving all of the permutations of possible numbers. There are too many possibilities. There's over like six
Oh, like
million.
probability? They're trying to
Yeah,
find probability.
we
Okay.
are trying to use probability to like reverse engineer what the correct code would be to change the virus back to its original format, but they can't do it
Mm,
just on probability because there are too many permutations of possible of because she was like
right.
seven numbers not repeated out of 32 combinations that like 32 possible digits, like that's not gonna happen. um And then we find out that because the gate network is down, Ball, who is the only one who has enough ships, is attacking all of the system lords and winning,
Again, why did you pick the most powerful one? That's my argument.
which is fair. Jay is talking to his mom on the phone, which really made me sad because again, the Howard Bernadette parallels are unreasonable because the way that his mom talked to him
I
was,
know. Bless his heart.
yeah. Um, Sam is like, hey, listen, we're all screw ups. Like, you made a mistake. Like, I get it, but like, we can't get down on that. She was like, remember that time that I almost killed every single person on the entire planet with a black hole because I just decided to like fuck around and find out? Like, and
She was so casual about that though. Like,
she's like, yeah, I made a mistake. I invited a black hole
I
into the
also
planet.
almost killed everyone. It's
Right.
fine. It happens.
Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, that's the answer. Like,
Kill
you.
everyone with a black hole.
Yes. No, he's like, you used the black hole, like you used the computer to override the gate system. That's all we have to do. Um, and it doesn't, however, they try that and it doesn't work. And then we get a phone call from Daniel to find out that he has about 48 hours before he is dead. Yay. Um, Felger runs away.
But you gotta have your ticking time bomb, or else
Yeah.
it's not a
Right. So Felger
problem.
runs away. And Sam is having a conversation with Hammond, and he's like, I thought you just said he needed a little help. And she's like, okay. So maybe he needs a bit more than a little help. And she's going on and on about how he's kind of a hot mess and he wears too much cologne and he like doesn't know what he's doing, but he's a brilliant scientist. Dan does not never knows what to do with me when he's watching TV with me because she goes, but at the end of the day, he's a brilliant scientist. And I go, well, he clearly is not that brilliant if he's feeding ducks bread. Dan's like,
That's the one that knocks him down.
and Dan was like, can you give it a rest? I was like, no, I will never stop until everyone understands how bad it is to feed ducks bread. I'll
Yeah.
never stop. But yes, so he's feeding ducks and Sam's talking through him
To be
and
fair,
they're,
I don't think the research had come out yet on this when this
oh, it
episode came
hadn't.
out.
It for sure hadn't, but I feel like
As a brilliant scientist, he should have known.
yeah, he should have just known
Yeah,
that bread would expand in stomach acid.
right. Yeah. I mean, have you seen people?
I mean, but I was gonna
If
say this the same thing happens to us. That's why you fill up on
right.
bread before the meal and then you can't eat and then you need to get like leftovers.
Yeah,
Like it's the same thing. Why did it
right.
take us so long to figure out that it would do the same thing to ducks?
Because people are dumb.
Because duck rights matter.
Absolutely. Poor ducks.
Um, but they talk through the problems and they determine that the virus might have been transmitted with the update. So, like, rather than fixing it, what happened was both the update and the virus were also transmitted. And so, the really only answer is to actually go to the planet and redo the update by removing, I wrote by unplugging the crystal and plugging it back in.
Yes.
Um,
Always the answer.
yes. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
I literally gave that advice to someone recently that was like off the wall and it worked, whatever it was. And I was like, I'm telling you, that's literally the solution every time.
Every time.
Except today when I was like, my phone's not sending messages. I'll turn it off and turn it back on. And then I had SOS signal for 45 minutes. And I was like, well, that wasn't it. But then I did Google and it was not my fault. So
it was an actual outage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jay volunteers. He's like, I made this problem. I'll fix it. And Sam says that she's gonna go with him because that's a terrible idea. But he can come with her.
Mhm.
And then Jay gets ready to go, and Chloe kisses him for good luck because that was a necessary
Bless
plot
her heart.
point for this episode.
Well, in case you didn't know, she's interested in him.
Oh, right.
However, any scientist that is working with a moron for that long, they're either in love with them or they're also morons, and she does not seem dumb. I mean, dumb in romance choices, but not dumb in science choices.
Right. So he and Sam go to the planet, and he sets up at the DHD while she patrols. So Hammond tells Jack, who loves that idea. Jay gets into the program only to find out that it's been altered and that the original virus and what he did is not what caused the problem. Someone took the virus and created this chain reaction. So Ball used it to aid him in his taking over all the other planets. They didn't cause it, but they're also stranded and can't fix it. But then Sam's like, all you have to do is modify the antivirus. And he's like, do you know how long it took me to make the antivirus in the first place? She's like, well, better start working. Daniel has abandoned the gate. He's not going to die because at least he moved to higher ground. Just means that it's going to take a while to get him back again. And Jay's still working when a Jaffa patrol comes and Sam has to fight them. So there's some dramatic fight scenes, and then a ship arrives and aims weirdly at the Jaffa instead of Sam and Felger, and everybody's really confused. But it is Jack and Teal'c, and they are on the ship, and they said, we got bored.
You see, if you get stuck on a planet, you send a ship to go get them.
They had to steal that ship first. They did have to kill a bunch of Jaffa and steal the ship first.
Look, but they did it. So, like,
Jay solves the problem. Daniel saves the people. Teal'c and Jack get a ship. It's a happy day for everyone. Then Jay and Chloe are making out when Sam and Jack come into the lab, and Sam and Chloe fight over Jay, and Jack and Jay watch it in pure misogynistic glory. And thank God that part is once again a daydream. So it's the parallels to the first Felger episode and the way his daydreams work.
Never in my life have I seen a more ridiculous scene. Never in my life.
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts?
No.
None. My favorite
can't.
My favorite trivia is that Joseph Malozzi said that the best thing about this episode was the title. That's it. He had nothing else to say about it.
I will say, I feel like the reason this episode exists in the world is because the guy who plays Felger, they must have just really liked working with him. They were like, we want to give him another episode.
Yeah.
And then they were like, JK, I guess. Like, we did it. We're done now. Let's move on.
And then this one is a weird trivia because it's something about a camera shot that I looked for, but I really am not 100% sure where it was. But there is a camera shot at one point where the camera seemingly like comes up out of the table in the briefing room into Sam being there. And Martin Wood basically was like, there are only so many things we can do to make the briefing room interesting. We have done all of them. So I just tried something and said, fuck it. And it's like not even a noticeable camera shot, but I just really liked that piece of trivia because it's so funny that he was like, I am trying here.
That is so funny.
We're in the gate room. We're in the briefing room. The stories are interesting, but there's only so much I can do to make directing interesting. So sometimes I just throw in fucking weird shots.
I love that. I love that.
Me too. Um, so yeah, what an episode.
What an episode.
Who do you want to punch?
I guess Velgar, like, I understand everyone's almost killed everyone in the world already, but like before, like he's not the only one. But God, you just like get it together, bro. Like 11 years you're working with this Stargate that no one knows about, and like top of the Air Force scientist,
Yeah.
and you're just messing everything up. Like, do better. So that's my choice.
Um, I think that I'm going to have to punch Chloe for liking Felger.
Yeah. I am.
It's a terrible choice.
I almost would have punched uh Sam because I don't know why she pushed this thing so hard.
Yeah.
Like everyone didn't die in the end, but like just let it go. Just let someone get fired that needs to get fired. No need to put all the world in danger.
Well, that's fair. Um, who's your MVP?
Oh, um, Jack and Tilt collectively for stealing a ship.
That's fair. I'm gonna go with Hammond, because he has had it with everybody's bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
a good pick.
Um, Next week, our episode is called Birthright, and not gonna be better.
You're really like harshing my
I
vibes.
I promise that we are going to get some really good episodes this season, but we are in this season is no, it is still 22 episodes. This season is 22 episodes. Um, and they really, really kind of backload it. Like four of the last six episodes are some of the best episodes, like of the series. Um,
We'll see.
but there is
Are they one of the ones Doug wanted to come on for? Because he for sure told me which one he wanted to do next, and I forgot.
I asked him, and he told me that the only one he specifically wanted to requested the episode itself was the one we already had him on for. So if we ever just want him to come on, he will,
Yeah.
but he doesn't
Well,
know
no,
which.
like at your wedding, he was like, "This is the next one I want to be on
Which
for."
is great because I asked him at the week before the wedding, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about.
I
So Doug's an
love it.
idiot. Dan is actually at Doug's right now for boys' night. He went over there at 6:30, because that's what time Doug told him to, and I got a text at 7:20 that said Doug is not ready and B it is still here. So it's Doug. That's just Doug.
Bless his
Um,
heart.
yeah, but so next week's episode is
I'm gonna guess what it's about.
okay.
Um,
Like I said, it's called Birthright.
right. So I'm gonna guess that we're talking about a group of people we've never heard about before. And the main person is going to be someone who was born into this group of people. And that's why they're evil. But they're going to come out on the other side and be good.
Cool, 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 cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you.
No. But that's
Sorry.
my prediction.
Okay.
And I'm 100% right. So if you want to hear that story, tune in next week.
Yeah, so if you have any thoughts, theories, questions, go ahead and email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And with that, we will see you on Thursday for the first episode of Hannibal for season 3.
Yup.
Bye.